What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another season of Board Bag Studio. I took some time off from this podcast because I was just doing summary things and kind of had my attention elsewhere. But now that the snow has fallen, I got excited to get it going again. And I think I've got some good stuff coming up for you guys. I got a lot of people on the list for this season, but if anyone ever has any suggestions, hit me up on Instagram at JediPauls or at Boardbag Studio. And I'm always looking for people to talk to and cover these interesting topics. So anyways, this episode is brought to you by Raw Life Superfoods. What is that? Well, it's a superfood company that they have their flagship product, superfood powder, which you can put in water, milk. I put it in my smoothies every day. It kind of just covers your bases as far as getting all the nutrients that you need for the day. It's got greens, herbs, fats, fibers, berries, enzymes, probiotics, prebiotics. That's right. It's got all that stuff, and it makes you feel amazing. And I wouldn't say that if it wasn't the truth. I take the stuff all the time. And they also have protein powder. They've got honey. They've got algae oil supplements, pretty much everything you need. So you can get 10% off by using my promo code Jesse. That's JESSE at checkout. And that is at rawrlife.com, RAWRLIFE.com. Enjoy the show. Today I spoke with Jeremy Jones in his house outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. And I'm not talking about Big Mountain Jeremy Jones. I'm talking about the street freestyle Jeremy Jones, the one who was made famous in the Mack Dawg movies and rode for Forum for a long time and just has a really rich legacy in snowboarding, especially when it comes to street riding. And we spoke about various things, including his recovery from breaking both of his legs, some stuff he's been working on in the gym, some Bodywork, what he's been working on with Woodward. It's all really cool stuff. He's been staying busy despite being injured over the past couple years. So I hope you enjoy it. He was really inspiring for me to talk to, and I've looked up to him for a long time. So this was a big deal for me. And yeah, without further ado, here he is. All right, we're recording.
All right.
Jeremy Jones.
What's happening?
How's it going, dude?
I'm good. How about you?
Good. I'm stoked to be here.
On the road, traveling around?
Yep. I'm in town to Salt Lake City for the premiere of my movie Veer tonight. And,
nice.
Yeah, so...
Second one you were saying?
Second premiere.
Premiere.
Yeah.
First one went well.
Yeah, first one was in Minneapolis just a few days ago, and it went really well.
Sick.
Unfortunately, I think I drank a little too much and didn't really get to talk to people much after the movie.
So it goes.
But I'm hoping to kind of keep it a little easier this time.
Oh, that's good. Well, you got a good crowd, so they're going to light it up here.
Yeah.
Salt Lake's the best,
Yeah. So I saw you had a little garage sale going on this morning.
Yeah, a little yard thing out front.
How'd that go?
I think it goes good. I don't love doing those things at all. So I just, keep my mouth shut and just haul things out till it's over. And then I haul it back in and hopefully just straight to the truck and then to the thrift store. But we just get, as snowboarders, you just gather gear, T-shirts and sweatpants and jeans and whatever, and then eventually it just it doesn't totally wear out usually because you replace it with something new fairly quick often and just builds up. So dollar shirts, dollar hoodies out there. It's just like pillaging. So
did you sell a lot of stuff?
I think, but a lot of things at $1 is not a lot of money. But it cleans out the house, and people.
Your wife said that you guys made like $500 today?
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
nice.
what she was saying.
More than I was thinking, so that's good. So good morning, that's
it
good.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I'm stoked on that.
Did you guys have like signs up and stuff, or was it just
not
kind
really?
of foot traffic?
I think she did a KSL ad, and then
cool.
And then I just threw one up on the stop sign, but pretty ghetto. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, what's been going on? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I just been hustling, man, like trying to heal up still. Accident 3 years ago. We may end up getting into that in a little bit, but I've been rehabbing that still. So I ran about 2 years, the short version before we get into details, it'd be 2 years. And then I had some bone issues. So I took the last season pretty much totally off. I did some snow skating, and then I started doing some consulting work with Powder Corp on their Woodward mountain project that they're working on. They just announced it. And so it's kind of this winter programming that Woodward's doing at the resorts that Powder owns. So they're kind of...
We're in Powder Corp, like...
Powder Corp's like the parent company. So that's the corporation that owns Woodward.
Oh, that owns Woodward.
So yeah, not Powder Mountain related at all. So
okay.
And so they own like Snowbird, Eldora, Copper, Bachelor, a few places like that. So those are the places we've been working with specifically. That's why I can list them off so easily.
Yeah.
Because I've been there and just working with the general managers and the park managers, and we're just kind of helping in design of these new parks, snowboard and ski parks, just
nice.
And make the whole experience better, hopefully, from just showing up in the parking lot, never snowboarding, never skied, nothing, and making that experience better all the way through, to hitting the whatever jumps are now, 80, 90, 150 feet, I don't know.
Yeah, so are you kind of focusing on making sure that there's progression that can happen and like some super like very easy stuff all the way to the 80 footers?
Yep, that's exactly it. And the easy stuff will make sense. It won't just be, like a small box in front of you. Like by the time you get to a small ride-on box, you'll have the skills to ride on to a small box, and you'll have done it naturally ideally without an instructor kind of like barking orders at you. It would be more like an instructor. I've been calling the working name that I've been calling them is hype men. Like we just need hype men out there, like people that are around kind of stoking out the kids on what they're doing. Yeah. So they look like employees. They look like instructors kind of, but they're just a little different. They're helping you, They're just kind of like, go here. This is your level. Like, see that right there? That's your next level. And if you stomp this, you stomp that, and it's easy. Like, just go. And and here's how you kind of shape the lip a little bit when you get into the higher levels. And so it's sort of, some of it's visionary still. Some of it will be in play this year. It's the first year. So it's
cool.
The big picture is just to, retain those first visits, get them to come back, and and then keep them moving up the line, and to whatever level.
Yeah, and I like the idea that it can kind of bridge the gap between somebody who's just showing up to the mountain to just have a day riding, and to actually have somewhat of a easy transition into riding park, because I think it can be pretty easy for a lot of that stuff to be intimidating, and especially when a park only has, big old jump on features.
Totally. And and the other thing too is families are starting to run through those big parks, and that gets, that it's for them in theory, but you get mom and dad in there, it's like even me, my two kids are 15 and 13 and pretty good snowboarders, but I have the knowledge, so it's a little unfair. But those without the knowledge, like I wouldn't roll into even a medium to large park with my kids as a family, because it's just not the flow.
Yeah, because they might just be like, oh, I'm just going to go hit this because it's here, when they're not really ready for it.
And they might get hurt, and who knows what they think and what they're trying to prove to their parents that day.
Yeah.
And who knows what the parents are like. Maybe the parents are like, oh, dude, I've seen you hit jumps. Like, you can do that. You can hit that 20. And, the person that's kind of coaxing their kid into it, they've seen their kid catch a little air on the run, but that's much different than even a 10-foot park jump. There's just a different process. And so just kind of easing people into that and educating them as well as they're learning. And so there's there'll be this family element too, where you can, runs you'll be able to cruise through as a family, but they'll cater to everyone. Like Peace Park style is kind of where we're leaning there. Like you have what Danny did with Peace Park and on a big scale at a pro level, but you shrink all of that down and kind of, you shrink all of that down and then sort of just put animation and different sort of transitions everywhere. A lot like what Boreal did this year. If you ever made it there, they did like a little Peace Park thing, and families could just cruise through there and like
the pop-up park stuff.
No, different than the pop-up park.
Okay.
So it was it actually got snowed over because they had such a crazy year this year. So it didn't turn out as good as hoped. But like when they first built it, it was like it's basically 3 lanes, and they called it, Peace Park, and it's just different transitions and pump bumps and rollers. And so, but then you can find, like, if you think like a pro,
you can
find so many gaps and all this different stuff. So,
cool.
Some ex-parent, myself, I can drop into these Peace Parks with my kids. They'll find their line and I'll find mine right next to them, and we'll just have fun all day long.
Yeah.
And ideally will keep us all safer, and we'll just leave happier, because we all got to shred together and kind of just watch each other shred.
Yeah, dude,
that's sort of the big picture and one of the hustles. And then, snowboard stuff, just getting back to that and trying to get healthy. And I'm looking at this year as the year to do that. And I'll start out with the season, hopefully in boots and bindings and on a board, and then just get stronger as it goes. And I'm not sure where we'll end up, but the goal is to hopefully be close to whatever my new 100% will be by the end of the year,
Yeah, cool, man.
So, and then doing some photo video stuff too, just
nice.
Yeah, got like 4 little hustles going.
Yeah, sounds like it. Staying busy. That's cool.
Yeah, trying.
I want to backtrack real quick before we move on from that topic. So these like hype people, or that idea, is this something that people would sign up for, or is this something that the employees would just be there out in the public, like kind of guiding people who are just there riding? You know what I mean? Like, would it be kind of like lessons, or?
No, I don't know is the answer to that. My vision would be that it would be, you would have, I always think back to the spot. That me and JP and Seth have kind of done for years, and
and I guess just like quick, give a primer for people who don't really know what that is. So
the spots, if you skateboard, it would be equivalent to your TF. It's like our training facility, and it developed out of a need to street riding, really, because we were hitting a bunch of rails, and Dogger would get antsy and want footage right away, and once that street stuff kind of started kicking in, and then we would get 6 inches of snow in Salt Lake, but we're not tuned up to film or anything yet.
Yeah.
And then we have filmers calling us.
Yeah.
So we're just like, dude, this is crazy. Like we're so far from being ready to film.
Yeah.
And so that's how the spot kind of came. It just was, we found a spot, cleaned out up in Guardsman, cleaned out the rocks and stumps. And so with 4 inches of snow, we could start
just built a couple
practicing,
rails
and just get our feet under us, so that when that first city dump hit, we could film like day one, of that snow, and we would be tuned up and ready. And so it developed out of that, and I think this will be our 15th year of running it, 16th year of kind of having it going. And
so this is like pre-Bone Zone.
This is pre-Bone Zone. Yeah.
Cool.
And so, we're up high, a little more misty, and, Bone Zone, you could relate the hype beast kind of stuff to that too, but it's just that community feeling and that vibe, right? That people have your back on the tricks that you're trying, that they understand what you're trying. And then the elevated version of that kind of hype beast would be, again, what I pull from what we did at the spot. It's like when someone's on you handle the person that's on, fix their lip, like tune up their landing, like slow your roll and let that dude have their moment, or let that girl have her moment. Like,
that's
make them good, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was kind of our programming in the spot. And that was one of the reasons we kept it so tight knit, is because that vibe would start to blow out when you get too much happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there is a balance point there, I think. But if you had people that were hired there just kind of cruising around the park, and, you know, park crew is just like park crew on steroids, you know, they tune the lips too, but then they're like, all right, dude, gates open, like, show me what you got. And then the dude hits it, and they, you know, maybe they have a different color vest on or something. And so, you know, customers learn, or riders learn that they can walk up to these people and say, hey man, I know you saw me throw up that back lip, like, got any tips for me? And the person responds, and they're like, yeah, dude, here's what I think you should just, you know, keep your shoulders a little more square and just kick your back foot over a little quicker, because you popped over that rail with plenty of clearance. So get that turn quicker, you know, and you've got it, you know, whatever it is. And
maybe even someone who sees a kid trying to 270 onto a rail when they clearly can't even really ride properly, and maybe they're like, hey, you know, maybe you should start back a little bit, because like sometimes I see that stuff and I'm just like, you'll get there if you just kind of, you know, allow yourself to learn the progression of it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's cool.
No, and you know, again, that's hard stuff to put in play. It's expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very like large concept. I think it's super cool though. I've never even heard of or thought of anything like that.
Well, and that's just an element. It's not unfortunate, but just because of the speed of everything that's happening and the quickness on that Woodward project, that will fall as something that is down the road a little bit once better programming comes in, because ski schools are going to have to adapt to sort of these new layouts. And so that process has to happen first, because it's...
Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to be a lot of trial and error.
Trial and error. Yeah. And ski school might feel threatened by this idea, because, you know, is this going to take my job? Is this something that's going to... Which ideally it wouldn't. It would just be an addition to a new product, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Cool, man.
Excuse this. A little water there.
All right. So, I guess we should start with the injury and kind of go from there in the recovery process. You brought that up and kind of where you're at today, and I think it'd be kind of cool to, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people already know, you know, bits and pieces of the story, but if you're comfortable with laying it out and kind of.
What you want like the whole accident story? You want more rehab kind of go into that? So
yeah,
both,
I mean,
right?
Yeah.
We'll try and give, you know, kind of detailed cliff notes to keep it semi timely, but essentially we were out catboarding in the Uintas. It was a heavy snow day, really good avalanche year that year. Like, there was nothing happening. Things were really stable. That night, a lot of moisture came in and really messed with that stability. And it messed with that stability while we were out there. So from, 6 a.m. till about 2 p.m, it hadn't even let up. It was just nuking the whole time. And it was getting more and more moisture in that snow. And so, even in our pits we were digging, we were running no layers. Everything's looking super good. But we weren't really weighing the snow. We didn't know the kind of weight that was being applied to such a really good snowpack, you know? And so our readings were just weird because it was, well, they weren't weird. They were good because there was just no, we weren't picking up weird layers. There wasn't weird.
And you guys were testing it like that day, or?
Yeah, we did. Well, we were digging pits on our way up. It was,
okay.
We were in a cat, and it had a snow cat, and it had no blade on the front. So it was, pushing snow really slow. Mm-hmm. There was 10 of us in it, so it was heavy, older cat. Just private. It was like going out on a snowmobile. You're just at your own risk situation. So we had, guides, sort of. They were just, but again, we were responsible for ourselves. We weren't putting it on those guys at all to make the avalanche calls for us, and because that wasn't the situation. It wasn't like a bald face or a
you
a
guys
scene
were
like
just
that.
going out having a good time.
Yeah, we were just doing what you do, what I do when you go out and film. You just look at the forecast. You take every precaution that you can based on that, and based on your own knowledge. You just, we maxed it out. Everybody that was there did everything that they knew what to do to make the decisions that we were making throughout the day. So we were very aware of the situation. And we walked ourselves into this, what ended up being the third and final run, through these other 2 runs sequentially. So we moved our way into the run that actually broke strategically, and with a plan, and everything told us that run would hold. And so that's how we ended up on it. And then we get there, Alex drops a little cliff first, and it goes, pretty well for him, just stoked on how deep it was, and he was just laughing, and then I went and landed right next to his landing, and then I started cutting across the same bowl, same line he did. I was maybe 4 or 5 feet lower than his cut, and right in the middle of that bowl, the whole thing I just heard a pop. Like, I don't know, I've heard slides pop, and I've been in a handful of them, and
it actually makes like a audible pop noise.
Oh, and and this one was, it was more than that. I really can't explain the sound, because it was so crisp and short and just even. Like there was no acceleration to the peak of the dBs. So you know what I mean? It just it just hit, and it was excruciating. And then that, it was like thunder over your house. Like if you're asleep and you've ever felt that thunder, and you felt like it just hit your roof. And have you ever woke up from thunder?
I have, yeah. Not
like that.
Not really to the extent that I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, like that's the only thing I can describe. Or if I don't know, if you're just standing there on the freeway and you just watch 2 cars go 60 miles an hour head on to each other. Like if you can imagine what that sound might be like.
Yeah, wow.
And then, but you're kind of turned away from it, and then it hits next to you. Like that's what it was. It was just so quick and sudden, and man, I don't know. It would just, I've searched for the sound. I've searched all over to try and hear that same sound, and I haven't found it, because I do this presentation with this now, and I just would love to have a sound
to have people kind of experience.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to engineer the sound?
A little bit. I've messed with a few things. I just haven't got one that I've been happy with.
Yeah.
I know that I could if I gave someone that was good at it a little bit of cash. I'm sure they could create it pretty easily, but it's so I should probably do that. But it, anyway, that popped, and then it was then I was in it. I was just in this slide, and I was still on my feet, and I had an exit plan, as I do anytime I drop into, a run. It's like or a jump, but there's what I want, and then there's the exit if something goes wrong. And my exit was really, really similar to the same line that I had planned to take anyway. So I just held my line, and I was just heading out to this big pine tree that was sort of on the edge, and because I could see the edge, like as soon as it popped. All this is a split second, literally.
Yeah.
But I already had my line in sight. I wasn't looking down the hill. I was looking the way I was going, and so I just held that line, and I could see where the fracture had started to peel out. And I was so close, so I sort of tried to almost ollie and then throw my body sort of to the back side of the slide, because I was up towards the top of the slide at this point. And then just as I loaded up for that ollie, it had just started to pick up some waves, and it clicked my heels and just kicked my feet out in front of me, so it put me in sitting position.
But you're still on top.
I'm still on top. Yeah. So at that point, you just start doing what you learn, and it's just swim. Do everything you can to stay on top. And so for me, my feet being in the board, I just sat like I was in a hot tub, and I started, fanning my hands like I was treading water, and just trying to stay on, like I was sitting in a pool, trying to stay on top with my snowboard on, essentially. And I was doing okay with that, again, in whatever split second that was. And then I had gotten close enough to the tree on the edge that I actually went under its lower limbs. And those limbs were running out maybe, 8 to 10 feet. And so I went right under one and I grabbed it. And I thought for sure that was my out. Like, felt like I was...
You had like hands on it.
Yeah, I was like, I got this. And I grabbed the branch and both hands, and I just started squeezing, and it just worked out. It felt slow motion. Again, this is like hundredth of a second probably, or quicker, I don't know. And I just could feel each branch just kind of pop through my hand, and then it just ran out. I just was off of the end of it, and the slide, there was still slide behind me, so I didn't slow myself down enough to get that slide to go underneath me, basically. And so back in it, just kind of swimming, and takes me over a little roller, and that's where the snow came over my head and things went black. And then I woke up like falling back, kind of peeling back off of an aspen tree, and just right to my butt. So I hit the tree between my legs. It stood me up. The slide packed around my legs, and then it knocked me out when my head hit the tree. But I woke up just as I was bouncing back. So I was only knocked out for, 2 seconds, but just enough to create such a fog that you're like, what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I just sit down on the snow, and I can't see my feet. I just see this tree like in my crotch.
Is it still like pushing against your back?
No, it's stopped now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's passed. It's gone. And I'm just sitting there, and I sit there for, maybe 30 seconds before Mary Walsh and Brock and Alex, he kept going. Brock just kind of pushed him down to keep moving down the slide to check for anyone else, Brock stopped and Mary stopped. And then that was my help right there. Those two were kind of my crew. They were up high with me. The others had kind of V-formed down. That quick, everyone was on it. Everyone was ready. We got all the way to the bottom of the slide, some of the crew, and at that same time, they were making a sweep down. I was getting, I could see the others sort of moving towards me. And then I hear Seth say we're missing someone. And then that reminded me in my fog that my beacon was still in receive mode. So I get in my coat, turn my beacon to search mode, and everything just kind of goes quiet. Like no one's picking up any signal now. And they were kind of moving towards me because I was the signal. And then we just are like, it was just like this panic. And within seconds of that fear of how you process something like that, Seth saw a leash pop up, and he had dropped in on a pow surfer on the edge of the run and in between me and Alex. And no one really had a beat on him. The last second, Seth kind of got that Sasquatch view of where he was, just on an instinctual glance, really. And so he kind of knew of an area to check. And then that's how he ended up seeing the leash. He quickly got to the leash, found his foot, and he was face down, passed out, and about a foot off of a tree with his head.
And who was?
I'm going to leave his name out. Just one of our buddies.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the other guy that was. And he was totally fine. And Seth just saved the dude's life.
Dang.
And
wow.
The beacon wasn't on. And so he, had it been a different situation, or to me, had it not been Seth, dead for sure.
Jeez, man.
I just don't see it. I don't see it going any other way, you know? Seth he was on that day, and Brock was the same. Like, those two were just so on. And then Brock just, you know, went into getting me off of the hill mode from there. Once we know everyone's alive.
Did you probably knew like right away that your legs were messed up?
I knew they were messed up for sure. Wasn't feeling any sort of pain really at that point. It's just sort of all that chaos of just, you know, and so all this happens inside 5 minutes. He's out and good to go. And so we're feeling good on that end, that things are, that none of us are dead. We love that.
Yeah.
So everyone, you know, everyone's got, you know, their version of a sigh of relief at that point. And then, we just started assessing my situation. And in that whole fiasco, I had dug my front foot out, my right leg, and unstrapped it. And that was right when I got my beacon switched over. And I wanted to go search, you know, that was my plan. And so inside all of that, I had done that with one hand, and I went to put my right leg on the ground, and it was just noodle. There was like nothing there. So I fell back, and I'm like, I can't do it, Brock. I'm helpless, you know, as far as this search goes. And we had that quick exchange, and then Seth's like, I found him. And so that was like a relief. Yeah. So now back to our situation. We just go through a little diagnosis of what's going on. We assume both of my legs are broken. At what level, we're not sure. I didn't want to pull the boot off to see if it was sticking out or anything like that. I could tell that it was inside the boot. So nothing outside the boot was exposed or broken that I could tell. And so I just laced my boots up tighter. I just pulled them tight.
Oh my God.
And they became my cast. And then Brock pulled out his probes.
Did you have speed lacing?
I did. Yeah.
That's probably nice.
Yep. So speed lace right there. And then, so Brock breaks out the probes. We splint up the right leg with some paracord and probes from his pack and my probe setup. And then I try to kind of, we get around out of the debris or not out of the debris, but out of our little pocket of the tree hole kind of we had created, getting me out of there. And then I really couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't even help him help me. It was like I was just this dead weight sort of. And so I asked him I could tell my left leg had a little connection. So I asked Brock he had duct tape in his bag too. So I told him to duct tape my feet together, because then you could
at least kind of
throw it around with my left leg. And so that worked way better.
Whoa. That's a crazy solution.
And we grabbed the POW surfer, and then I just sat on that, held the rails, and just, sat knees up, and just kind of my hands under my knees on the rails, and my just kind of heels into the foam on the POW surfer just to get a grip, or the spikes. It was one of those shark, I don't know what the brand is, but spikes, not foam. And then Brock grabbed the tip of that snowboard and just backed me out of about a quarter mile of avalanche debris. Just in so much pain and not saying one thing, no gloves, just like getting me out of there, and it was intense. It was like as concerning and stressful of a moment it was for me. I just remember staring at him, and I'm just like, dude, you're doing it. Yeah. You're doing everything that we've trained for. Like, this is the sickest thing ever. Yeah. And wow. I was just like beside myself, because I was watching my friends, people that I'd worked with and practice certain things like this. Like, some of this
actually come through.
Yeah. And a lot of it we would joke about, like people thought we were extreme because we would carry, advanced survival packs in our backpacks, like we would have magnesium powder for quick fires. We'd have things that could burn in wet. We would have knives that were bigger than everyone else's to chop trees if we have to. And different kind of things like that. And people are always like, man, you guys are just so doomsday. And it's just like, no, we just feel like we want to be prepared.
Yeah,
you know?
It just takes
like,
that one time, huh?
Yeah, and we all share a mentor that just kind of taught us that over the years. And, you know, like I said, it was just a surreal moment. And I've said it, as much as I wouldn't ever want to do that again, to see my friends do that again, I would for sure go through it and just be the person they need to save, so they can do that, you know, and watch it.
Wow.
Like if heaven's a thing and we get to replay videos there, I'm going to watch that one over and over, you know, because that was a rad moment for my friends and watching them do that. And so we get to the Cat and we still have about a 4 mile kind of drive to the car. And that's the plan. It's late in the day, about 5 by the time we get to the Cat, 5:30. So dark now, and we're on our way driving out. Things are going good. I'm getting calmer. Brock's with me the whole time. Everyone's in the Cat. We're moving.
Did you have anything to manage pain at this point?
No. But, you know, the pain really was just...
I guess if you're sitting with it for a while, is it kind of just...
Yeah, you sort of... It wasn't... I was just like, man, hopefully it's just... It didn't feel like things were bleeding in there. Mm-hmm. Things felt dry enough. And so there were certain things that I just eliminated concern. And so I was just like, okay, I'm not going to worry about that now. For sure, things are messed up. And, you know, I don't know. The pain was doable somehow. Mm-hmm. You know, moving sucked, like little movements and having to like readjust. But, you know, like if you're sitting in really hot water, if you sit real still, it's not as hot, but then you like move your hand and it burns. So it's that kind of same vibe. And, but Brock was just chatting with me, and, you know, at this point we kind of start making jokes and trying to calm the whole situation down with everyone else. And then the Cat breaks down and we're about 2 miles still from our car. No. So we're just like, oh dude. And so, you know, Alex hops out, he's trying to build a fire just to, you know, stay busy. And Seth's up front trying to mess with the Cat and discover the starter gears the starter gear stripped out. So we're not getting this thing started. And kind of all at the same time that discovery was, Seth had poked his head in the back of the Cat and he just kind of shook it at me. And I gave him a nod. We didn't even exchange words. And he grabbed T-Bird and Mary and their snowboards and my keys, and they just sprinted. They ran 2 miles in snow, following moose tracks, and, you know, with that fear that they were going to run into a moose in the dark. And they just, you know, got bloody lungs and just went, you know, like champions, just charged, got down the canyon enough, got Mary on the phone. Seth was instructing her, told her to call search and rescue. From that conversation, Seth didn't like the time framing it was sounding it was going to be like. And so when Mary got off that call, he told her to call Lifelight. And Lifelight had just took off from, where was it? The U of U hospital, I think. And so they had just gotten the air, or a bird had just gotten the air, and it was able to come up and put on the ground in about 18 minutes from the phone call. Oh, wow. So significantly faster. And then, so they got there, came in through a hole in the storm, got in the Cat, got some drugs in my arms, and I think that helped. I don't even know that did anything, like pain-wise. I feel like, because I didn't really feel like I was in a ton of pain. It was almost like I needed the drugs so that everyone else felt like things were good. Like you're
taking care of. Wow.
You know, a little bit. And so
I had a very different experience from pain meds, but I got hooked up probably within 20 minutes of breaking my leg to an IV.
Really?
And I was in a lot of pain, and it was like, as soon as they hooked me up, it was complete pain dissolution. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like I was like, from like panic mode, this is insane, to I'm chilling, and I took my own boot off. Wow. And it was like But I mean, but you were also sitting with the pain for hours. And so
Yeah,
I can imagine
long
your body kind of adapts and then.
It does. And you know, and the moment of it happening, there was so much other stuff going on that it was, you know, my instincts were to help. It wasn't to be like, oh, I'm broke off, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
It was like, I need a help. And then it wasn't until I couldn't that I had to take a new position and fall back from being any sort of leader in the situation. I was just like, okay, this clearly I'm the problem.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that everyone needs to figure out now. And so that's a hard seat to take for sure. But they got me in the bird, just as they started back pulling me out of the cat. A search and rescue showed up, which was great because we were able to use those people to carry. It was about 300 feet from the cat to the bird.
Carried you on a stretcher.
Yeah. And you know, there's like 2 feet of snow out there. It's just deep. So it was a hard walk for those guys. They all did it though, and got in the bird and took off. And then just another thing, like it was stormy. They couldn't get me to the hospital they wanted to. They had to loop around for 20 minutes. They found a car down Provo Canyon and got me into Provo Hospital where that's where things really started to hurt. Because once I got the diagnosis, everything, they kind of feed me information and we're having some discussion. My wife had showed up there. I kind of opened my eyes from the heli to JP and my wife and, you know, a couple of my neighbors and that had got word. And so that was cool to see them. And then they're like, okay, we're going to take your boots off. Because they shot x-rays with the boots on. And then now we're just going to pull them off and splint it. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And then they like go to my feet and I'm like, where's the saw? And they're
to like cut the boot off.
Yeah. And they're all, no, we're cutting it off. And I'm like, you're crazy, dude. I'm gonna cut that. I want that boot cut off. I don't want you to pull that thing off.
Yeah, because snowboard
you're gonna pull my foot off with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it felt like.
Yeah. I when I took my boot off, I would like unlace it a little bit, and then they thought I was like done, and so they like pulled on it, and I had to like scream at them like, please just let me take care of this, because snowboard boots, you have to like fully loosen every section of it if you want it to come off easy at all, and even then is like, you know, you're kind of locked into that thing.
Well, you're stoked. I fought with them, and then next thing I knew, they're just like yanking on these things, and it was 2 people pulling on. On 2 different boots, and I just felt like my feet were gonna come off of those boots, but they got them off. So that was the worst pain for me. That was like my moment of pain, and I was on drugs at that point, you know, and I was just like that sucked.
Wow.
And then, you know, they just bandaged me up, and then I sat in that hospital for 20 hours, and I never even saw a surgeon. Kept postponing it and over, and my wife. What
were the X-rays looking like at this point? Like
just messy. Right leg was tib fib totally exploded. It was I mean, I don't know with the pieces, but like hard full fractures between the 2 bones, I think was like, it's like 6 fractures. And then there was, I on the x-ray from my view, when I've counted, I think there's like 13 pieces of bone, including the big parts, you know, but everything turned into, so then all the chips and everything that's in there. And then left leg, was like I don't even know what the terms are for the brakes, but it was kind of like this triangle shank. So it shanked one way, 45, and then shanked below it, 45. So it was kind of 2 major fractures in the big bone, and then that piece was just out. So that bone was blown up as well. But then my tibia, is that right?
Yeah.
Fibula's a small
fibulas. Yeah.
I always mess them up, and I always say tibia and fibia. I call them the same thing. But the fibula's that one in my left leg was fractured but connected. So my left leg was essentially my good one, and the right one was the messy one. So get some calls off to some other orthos and get their opinions and on the x-rays. And then I get moved to another hospital up here in Salt Lake and got an ortho lined up. And then the next day, that night, I was in surgery by, I think, like 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. And then it was like a 6-hour surgery, rods in both legs, and then a plate in my right leg and a bunch of screws through the bones in the middle with the rods just to kind of pull the pieces together. Mm-hmm. So that's where we ended up.
Broke the skin.
No, all stayed inside. Skin was good. Unlike yours was through the skin. Yeah, that's gnarly, dude. That's so gnarly.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's brutal. It's scary.
Yeah, it's super scary. Especially the moment when I realized that it was through the skin, like seeing the blood. That was right after I took my boot off.
It was. And did you take your boot off in the hospital?
No, in the ambulance.
In the ambulance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So I had like emergency surgery. I didn't even really have a chance to assess or anything. They pretty much just got me there and got me into surgery like right away, which was nice because there's a lot of risk of infection and stuff like that. And so I'm like, shit, what if I lose my leg kind of thing? But
not doing that.
Good,
that's good. They were quick about that, and that's why we ended up moving hospitals and getting transferred, because I had one just say, dude, you can't let that go longer than 24 hours without that being fixed. There's no circulation down there. It's already like a suspect area to be breaking stuff, And so we just pushed that, and they were pretty ticked up there. They're just like, you can't just leave a hospital. I'm just like, well, get someone here to fix me then now, because like the clock's ticking. We're at like 23 hours right now, and
jeez,
I gotta get this thing sorted out.
Yeah.
So got it sorted out, and then just went into whatever that was, just 6 weeks of no weight, just hospital bed up in the house, and then once I could kind of start fiddling with weight, just started doing that a little bit, leg lifts and getting blood tests every day. I had someone come into the house, making sure my blood's thin enough, and then all those medications that you're on, it was crazy. Like I was on a blood thinner, but then it's just all so backwards, like what you have to take to heal, and so I just got off the drugs because I just couldn't, it didn't make sense to me that what I needed to heal bones, I couldn't take, because it would offset what the blood thinner is supposed to do. So you're taking this blood thinner so you don't, because of poor circulation, you don't want to get blood clots, and you don't want to get blood clots, and so that's good. But then nutritionally you can't feed yourself when you're on these drugs, because they all have a reaction to it. So I'm starting to do a little bit of studying and how that works, and it's like, dude, I'm just on these drugs that the things that I can't eat are what I should be.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't like that. So I kind of weaned off of that, and just.
And then is that why you had the getting your blood tested, so that as you kind of weaned off, you make sure that it's still.
No, they would just test the blood to make sure. It was just like a finger prick, and it was measuring something. Viscosity. Yeah. So I just had to stay inside this range, or they would just panic, and it was so consistent that I'm just like, it's not adjusting. Like on the medicine, it's staying. So off the medicine, it'll make a shift, but it's probably just going to hold. So that was my thought, and it went fine. I don't think I didn't die of any blood clots anyway, whether they mess with me or not, I don't know in the end. And then, I just started working through whatever that was, different types of rehab, and just real slow movement. There's just a lot of pain, and I really couldn't push past a lot of things. So I went and asked if I could get all the screws removed I'm gonna put her upstairs real quick.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, I'm back. So, so I asked the doctor if he'd just go in and pull all those screws out, because I felt like it was creating so much pain, and it wasn't allowing me to heal. Mm-hmm. Sorry, we got this dog just bugging. Oh, look, she's all fighting now. I'm gonna run her to her leash. One second.
Okay, yeah, no worries.
Sorry, dude.
You're good, man.
All right. Okay, we back?
Yep.
So back to the screws. So the first screw removal, I got, I think 7 or 8 screws removed. There was 3 or 4 in the middle of the bone.
And how long after? How many months or?
I was into it maybe a year.
Okay.
A year then. And I just wasn't progressing. And so I needed to kind of figure out why. And those screws were one of my first thoughts and starts. So I got those out, and then it actually promoted better bone healing, pulling those out. So it still hurt, but catch a little breath here from those stairs. And then it started healing. And so at this time last year, I went in, I had got clearance in February 18. Are we in 19 right now? So February 2018, I got clearance to go full bore on rehab because my bones looked good. Mm-hmm. So, and it was a come back in 6 months, and we'll shoot some photos and make sure everything's looking good. So if you tell me that I'm good for rehab, then I'm going in.
Do it. Yeah.
So I go in, and it hurts, and it still just hurts. Like it won't. I mean, there were some phases where things were looking really good, and there was lots of progression happening, and so there were these positive kind of markers to say keep going. And so I go in at 7 months rather than 6, and they shoot X-rays, and it's like a full non-union has formed almost in this whole new area.
Oh my God!
So there were so many different healing zones that it was like it was just moving around. Like it would heal, and then it would open back up, and then it would close, and then open back up in another zone. So what was happening, I think, is as I'm doing this rehab and, getting stronger, feeling stronger, and can handle more weight in certain areas, then I'm applying these little bits of weight, and it's just putting torque on my bones basically. And so maybe, certain movements bend my bone a little bit, and it just creates these mini fractures. And then those fractures just keep getting vibrated and disturbed. And then it creates this non-union because it is just a poor spot for blood flow and healing in general. It's pretty notorious for that in those bones, especially that low. And so that's what I'm faced with. He says that's this time that last year now. And a little more November. And he's like, yeah, we need to do surgery again. We're just going to pull out your rods, ream bigger holes, and put in bigger nails. So they just wanted to drop in bigger rods to make it stiffer. And I'm like, well, what's that going to do? And they're like, well, us going in there and pulling out the rods and reaming it out, it'll, open it all up, and it'll get the bone like jamming and get it to grow back. Because you can clean it out. You can kind of, and which is what the screws did, pulling the screws out. You go in and you kind of stab at it, and then you create growth.
Yeah,
like
but then you
heal.
Didn't put new screws back in though, and that's what they wanted to do.
They wanted to do not new screws, but the full rod, right? And and bigger and stiffer. And I'm all, why wouldn't you have just done bigger and stiffer ones at the start?
Yeah.
If you think I need a bigger rod and my weight can't handle it, why would you give me these wimpy rods? Like, so that was my argument. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, was the surgery wrong at the front end of this? And so I go and I get a few other opinions, from some other orthopods, and my surgeon was great. And still to this day, he's a friend of mine. I feel like he did epic work. It was just I leaned on him a little too much on the rehab side of things, and it's maybe just not his area of awesomeness. Where he's awesome is when he's doing surgery. You know, when his hands are inside your body and putting things together, he's really good.
I think that's one of the downfalls of just like Western medical stuff in general is like in the emergency moments and things like that, and it's amazing. But then when you start to take their advice for everything else, there's people who spend their life working on just those things.
Totally.
Yeah.
And he, and I was hopeful. I wanted to keep moving things forward. And so if you give me pieces of good information, then I'm going to run with them because that's what I want. And so I was clouded by my own kind of desire to just move this thing along quick as well. And so there's mistakes on my end. And I mean, ultimately I blame everything on me anyway. It's like, I can't put this situation on anyone but myself, and so I'm not mad at him or anything like that. He's hopefully actually going to pull out a broken screw that I have in there right now. I've got this head kind of backing out at the bottom of my rod. So, and I think that's my hang up right now. And he used to have to do it outpatient, but now he can do it in clinic at this new place he's got. So I'm going to jam in there hopefully in the next few weeks and get this one screw backed out that will hopefully eliminate a bunch of pain.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we're at now.
Wait, and so did you end up getting another rod in?
Oh, no. So yeah, good question. No, I didn't. I said no. And I just, I'm like, I'm not doing that. That just sounds nuts.
Yeah.
So I just got off the snowboard, did some snow skating only on hill when I had to be, on hill with my kids a little bit, but just snow skated. So I couldn't put my foot in boots. It just wasn't working. The very start of the season I was trying because I hadn't got this information yet. And then it was the end of November, and we had early season last year, and so I did one split day on a really early powder day in December up in Flagstaff after I did get this diagnosis. And so that was kind of my last day on in a snowboard last year. And yeah, so I just rested and went on, a bunch of bone supplements. Just tried to eat better, and I just tried to grow the bone. I feel like my body wants to fix itself. Like it's always trying to fix the things. It always has, like, and everyone's, I think, does.
Yeah, that's
it's like
wired.
When I get hurt, you can cut yourself and you can just watch it over the weeks, and it works on it. It's trying, like it's changing, it's doing the work. And your bones retain so much memory. They know, I feel like you train your bones through your life, whatever it is you're doing. I skateboarded, I jumped off of things. Like my bones were strong. Like my bones know how to take an impact vertically,
Yeah.
They've been built that way.
Yeah.
And so they have that memory. They must. And it's the only memory that they have. And so when something like this happens, I can't not think that my bones just want to get back to what they know. And if there's all this stuff in there, like holding it together, which is good, but then at some point you got to say, no, don't hold it together anymore.
Yeah.
It's stable. Let it remodel by its memory.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about, I still have all my hardware in I have a rod and 2 screws, or 4 screws, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. And I at the end of this season, I'm going to get everything out, the rod, everything. And I just want my bone to try to get back to where it was before. Cause I feel like at some point it just, and you know, I haven't done a ton of research on this, but I've heard things here and there, but it seems like, you know, okay, those are there to help it like in the first place, but now that it's solid, if you take that stuff out, I feel like it would just,
I agree.
You know, want to do its job.
and I want to do that too. That's a constant debate in my mind too. And hopefully I will, hopefully hopefully I can get it to, you know, heal this year. And then I might be on the same program as you, just roll it out in the, you know, late spring and pull those things out. Because if you go too far, the bone grows around it too much, and you know,
I've heard it can like get stuck.
It's just nasty. Yeah. You know, I have footage of my rods being pounded in. I asked him to film it all. And
Jesus, man.
So I have
crazy.
I have hours of GoPro
Have you watched
footage.
it and stuff?
Yeah. Like in the presentation I do, I show some taps of it getting pounded in. And
I haven't even been able to get myself to watch other people have that happen to them.
It's punk rock, dude. It's like, it's straight up just like medieval.
Yeah.
Like it's this massive nail, dude. And they have a hammer and a guide, and your legs just, you know, flying in the air, and blood is shooting everywhere, and they're just pounding this big rod down a guide into your leg. It's insane. And then when they take them out, same thing. They open you up, and then they thread it, tap the top of that thing, and it's a slide hammer to pull it out. And like, it's gnarly. Like, you think of a surgeon, like, he's like, dude, I slide hammered that thing for 45 minutes to get it out. Like, you think that's work, dude. Yeah. And then you think of the person that's getting the nail pulled out, what they're going through. Like, the doctor's exhausted. You know, he basically just did 45 minutes of pull-ups, you know? Yeah. And then now, and I'm just like, man, that can only just beat a human up, you know? So it's just a violent. Yeah. But I mean, and that's
thank
why goodness we can
there's
get in there.
Easy to have apprehensions about getting it out as well. Cause you're like, well, do I really want to go through another surgery and trauma again and the recovery? But
that's totally it. It's just, you know, and everything hurts on me still. So I want to get through the pain before I just go open it up and
for sure
revisit it all, you know? So I'm hoping quick though. It'd be nice to get them out within a 5-year time, because I don't know, I just feel like anything longer than that, it's just going to be tougher and tougher. I think even that's probably too long.
Yeah, I don't know. But,
who knows?
So I want to get into kind of what you were doing nutritionally and what type of things specifically you were doing once you actually got the ability to start walking around and doing conditioning and actually like real weight bearing stuff. Like, what's some of the things that you've done that feel like have really made an impact on the whole recovery and getting stronger?
I mean, that's hard because the impacts have really just been, the biggest impact stuff has been anything that I stayed consistent with, because that's where I've got the best feedback and information from. So I did a ton of testing. You know, I was just in week to 2 week to 3 week phases of different types of trainings, you know, mental workouts just to get through the days, you know, and then nutritionally, it was just almost as little as I could. I was just sort of putting in what I needed to, because I really wasn't moving that much. And so I didn't want to like bog things down and load myself up with just weight that I couldn't unload, essentially. And so I just tried to pay attention. I don't know that I'm, you know, I never consider myself the best eater or anything, but it just, you know, lots of juice, lots of veggie juice, and I was juicing a ton. Bone supplement stuff I was taking.
Like bone broth and...
Yeah, tons of bone broth.
Collagen?
Yeah, tons. And collagen's been like maybe my biggest thing, but that's only been the last 5 months. And I've been on that heavy because of a friend. He started a thing called Bub's Collagen. He started sending it to me, and I just started taking it consistently. And I just traveled and I didn't take it with me. I did 3 days without it. And it's like, it messes with me.
Really? Wow.
Oh, dude. And I don't know, it's strange that had an impact.
Yeah.
Cause
I mean, I've heard a lot about that being it's something that's really good for healing trauma and just like feeling good, being strong.
Yeah. Well, I've had great success with that. And then prior, I was on, bone broth stuff. I would make a ton of it, just organic chicken and just take all that bone broth. And then I had a good friend, again, the same mentor that I mentioned, me and JP and Seth have, his wife would bring me some bone broth here and there, and she would make some really good stuff. So I was on that a bunch. And then Bone Health was the supplement that I landed on. But really it was just, the reason I landed there is because it had the main 3 things that I was looking for, which I was taking individually, like vitamin D, calcium, and
K2 maybe?
K2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just trying to figure out what those balances were. And then Bone Health had a really good ratio of each one. And it was only one thing that I had to buy.
Yep.
And so I liked that. So I landed there and currently out of it, but I've been on that really pretty consistent as well. And so those were kind of the supplements, nothing crazy, really pretty simple, but just consistency. And then I found the same thing in the gym, and in the gym, it's more, it's about being consistent, and it's about not blowing yourself out. And that's the hardest thing in a gym setting is you go and you get, if you're with your friends, they're pushy, it's not that they're like, you got this, like go more. You see it around you, and so it's really hard to find what your pace is and where you need to back off. So I've just spent a lot of, really brain work, just paying really close attention to every minute that I'm in the gym and what my level is at and when to say stop and walk out of there so that I can come the next time, because I don't want to leave and not be able to show up at the next one because I'm clapped out. Yeah. And so it became what that balance was, and just progress. Learned that it was slow. Learned that my progression in this particular thing is going to be a slow rebound, So that was a hard realization. I think I'm still pretty mad about that one because it's just slow, dude. Yeah. And you feel like you just don't have time. Like, I don't feel like there's time in life for this to move this slow for me. I want to, especially when you're spending like that much time just doing it, trying to do the best you can for it. And it's all encompassing, it's like, it sucks up every thing I do every day. This is in the back of my head right now because I still feel it. It's still wound up. There's still tension in my right leg, particularly. My left is crushing. It's doing great. Like, I would call it 100% and it's ready to go. It's just waiting, So I tend to the left leg just in terms of keeping it happy and letting it know that I still got mind on it, and I'm not forgetful. And so, my left leg takes care of me. It's sort of my crutch, really. And then the right leg just, every day is a little better right now. I'm in a pretty good phase, and so I'm just trying not to overdo it. I'm trying to keep it just at its pace that I have, because it seems to have some success, and then hopefully I'll get that screw out, and that'll make some changes in the positive, and then end of December, middle of December, I'm going to start boarding. Yeah, kind of my plan. Nice, man. If I can refrain from trying earlier. Yeah. So did you have experience in the gym prior to all this stuff? I did. Yeah. Have you been working out for a while? 2007 I started. I found this gym called Jim Jones here, and their philosophy was really cool. It was just a climber and his wife that started it, and some climber friends of his, and they just wanted, they were a lot like the scenario I drew out with the spot. These guys just needed extra training, you know, outside of hanging on to a mountain, you know, at 10,000 feet or whatever. And so, you know, I reached out to them and almost as a challenge, because I was like, who are these guys? Like they're kind of acting a little elitist. Like, you can't just come to our gym. Like, you got to be accepted. And we're not just like, you know, we're not here for the money. And they're kind of giving me that whole thing, or they sort of put that out on their website. And I was like, that sounds dope. Like, I kind of like that idea, because and it gave me that spot vibe. Like, I get it. These guys are like, you know, they put it out there that way, but are they really like that? You know, or is this just their filter to get the type of people walking in that they want from the start?
Yeah.
At least, like, you cross a few barriers. Even if you're going to send them an email, you've already crossed a few lines of being distracted by their, you know, by their kind of pitch.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, I'm a snowboarder. I need off-season training. Send them an email, and they responded. And then, yeah, I was just kind of in and out of there for 3 or 4 years. And then I just did my own thing, just maintenance training mostly for the next, you know, I took a break for a few years, and then now I'm kind of back in it with some of the guys from that, that gym. And we've actually built a pretty cool little snow program. So I've been working with the main trainer there, Paul, and I was like, let's build, you know, I want to get these snowboarders in here. I want to keep them healthy and show them some things that can, you know, get them, spark their season in the fall, and then, you know, kind of flush their season out in the spring, and then get them some strength in the summer, so that they can have some meat essentially to kind of carry them through the winter. Because I know what it's like to go full bore on a video part, or, you know, not a contest season necessarily, but it's the same drive and the motivation. Like, you're pinned, you know, it's like, if it's good weather, you're there. If it's a contest, you're there. And you're snowboarding days that you don't want to. You're snowboarding when your brain doesn't want you to. And that's like taxing on your body. You know, it's brutal. So you need something for your body to eat. It needs to be able to eat itself up to some degree. And then I also learned that by the time my season ended, it was often where I felt almost the most out of shape. Because, you know, you burned so much of it, you've gone through so many different beat downs, and you're just sort of taxed. But that's also where I've performed the best. That's like at the peak, because you've been snowboarding all season, and you're humming. Like, even though your body's like ready to just be done, you have this period where, like, it's unstoppable. And if you can recognize that, like, don't get discouraged by that. Like, what you're looking at in the mirror, you know, you do got a little bit of winter fat on you. Like, that's what your body does. It's taking care of you. You're cold, and it's like, it's supporting you. And so don't get distracted by the mirror, so to speak, but just tune into that and use it to your advantage. Cause, you know, that, and then you just program like that. It's okay. This first half of the season is just like building the base of my video part, unless you come across that feature that you're like,
where you're just like,
this.
Okay. One of my favorite clips from last year was at like one of the first trips that we did, and it was like big and scary, and I was just like, well, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen now. So I gotta step up. And
so you're tuned in. You know, it's like, okay, I know I can do this. I really don't want to, because I'm not tuned in. I wish I came across this like 2 months ago, or 2 months later. For sure. So, you know, it's just, I don't know, I guess the blessing of being able to do it as long as I have, I've really just paid attention to a lot, and now I can kind of look back at it all and almost see what the programming was like. You know, on the fly, it wasn't so much realizing all this stuff. It's always kind of hindsight, and then you look back at it and you're sort of like, okay, that's what's happening here. So let's teach people now, or at least tell them what my experience was. You know, I'm not an instructor. I'm not qualified to train you in PT. I'm not qualified to train you in the gym necessarily. I can lead a program and show you.
You know what it takes
I can
to
show you
snowboard
movements
and
that
like
won't hurt you.
Yeah.
You know, so that you can walk out and go skate and go snowboard and still have that energy. Like I have that experience inside the professionals that have kind of the book and experience knowledge of what it's like inside of a gym, you know. So, and Paul, he just works with me really well. He likes the way I look at things, and he responds to it, and so he's able to tweak his stuff to my thoughts and my ideas really well. And so we have a great combo there, and we got like 10 of us in there now. There's like Sage and Zach Hale's coming in, Pat's coming in, Bodie's coming in.
Man, if I lived here, I would be there 100%.
Jill Perkins is in
there.
Dude,
now, yes, that's amazing to hear.
Littlest, Alex is in there.
Sick.
Yeah, we have Taxwood, he started coming. So we have like...
Dude, amazing.
If Taxwood keeps coming, then I'll cap it for a minute because...
You can only
handle so many people.
Yeah,
but man, it's been really cool. And those dudes have been, you know, they keep coming back. So I feel like we're keeping them in a range that and I'm seeing skate footage of them on their Instagram. So I know they're still getting that in.
Yeah, that's the hard balance, huh?
Yeah.
Like, I always go in and out of different kind of workout programs and kind of trying this and trying that. And it's, you know, there's been a few times where I'm lifting and stuff like that, but then I'm too sore and I don't want to skate or do whatever. So that's cool that's a goal as well, because that's important.
Yeah, so. I mean that's my focus, and I really hammer that as an important thing with Paul, so that just for understanding purposes, you know, he's a good listener.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of people who go to the gym, that's what they do, you know. That's what they do to get sore and be tired and stuff. But then,
and those days are great too. You know, when I plan for those days and I'm like, okay, today's gym day.
Yeah,
like
you feel good about yourself when you get something like that done. Yeah,
and it's a different vibe. It's a different mission that you're tackling, and I have a ton of fun with that now too. So it's but the gyms, I love it. I love going there. It's taken a long time to get to that point, to like it and not just go because I feel like I need to service a need that my body needs, because that's what it was for the longest time. It was just, I have to do this just because I have to do this, you know, and now...
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to want to, and now I want to. Now I need it, you know, and maybe that just comes... as you get older and you start to, you know, I mean, I'd much prefer just go skate every day. If I could just go skate every day and skate hard every day and have that time, then I probably wouldn't go to the gym very often, other than when I had to, you know. But now it's like my skate days are a little more planned. I'm working it around my family. I'm working it around, you know, not snowboarding being my only job anymore. You know, so you just move and shift, and the gym became something that could keep me tuned up for the days that I can skate, you know, when all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got 2 hours right now and I'm feeling good. I'm going to go skate. Yeah. You know, and I want to be ready for that moment. And so that's kind of my focus. And that's what I've told each one of those guys when they came in. I'm just like, you know, you can do what you want in here, but know that my goal is to, I will encourage and push you on, more than anything, the lighter side of things, because I know how much you guys skate. I know how much you snowboard. I know how much hiking goes into that. And so I'd rather you leave here almost slightly unsatisfied. Yeah. So that you can go skate, because then you'll be stoked. Yeah. But if you leave here and you can barely walk to your car, and then you have a rose session planned that afternoon, you show up and you're just like first ollie and timing's off, your legs are fried, like you're bummed, dude. Can't kick flip. Yeah. And you know, and winter's coming, so you know your skate days are limited, and you know, I know what that feels like, and I want people to do their thing. And
So do you, is it a lot of free weights? And I mean, I have no idea, but I can imagine doing like just some basic strength stuff and core work and free weights.
Honestly, it's, I always remind myself to keep it simple, stupid philosophy. We used to have that hanging in the edit rooms and, editing all the Mack Dawg stuff is someone, I think Jaakko said it from Finland, one of the filmers. He's like, my hockey teacher always said, keep it simple, stupid. And I just that just stuck with me,
Yeah.
And so I say that all the time to myself in everything I'm doing. And I complicate things all the time, overcomplicate them. But in there, it's just really like, there's tons of exercises you can do, and there's tons of things that you can confuse yourself with. But if you can,
that's also kind of where I'm at, because I've tried so many different things and still just kind of figuring out like what like trying to boil it down so that I don't overwhelm myself and I don't have to spend a bunch of time like learning to figure out all these different things.
Well, and that so for me it was, it comes down to, well, I don't know, the design of all of it happens so many different levels, because there's the travel aspect. Like, how can you get in a quick, hard workout in 10 minutes in your hotel room if you don't have a gym to access, and then, so there's that element, like, what can you use? Can you do it without using anything? And the answer is yes, you can. And then there's the gym aspect where you have everything you need. And then you have a hotel gym, which is, maybe they have this janky treadmill and then kind of
couple free weights,
and it's like, okay, what can I do with these things that aren't going to hurt me but make sense to the program that I've been working on? And so all of those, I sort of just am like, hey, how can I remember certain things that I enjoy to do and that I will do when this time comes? And then and it all came down to just the keep it simple philosophy. Like, the structurally sound stuff is some of the best stuff. That's like your go-tos. If you have the weights, like, just don't go too heavy. Make sure you're supporting everything. That's always been my thing. Just keep it straight, keep it thoughtful, pay attention to, the squat all the way. If you have a barbell on your back and you're doing some back squats, like, just learn what your weight is carefully and thoughtfully before you
take your time.
Yeah, because you can, like, I don't know, we're strong, snowboarders are strong, skiers are strong, and so they can handle weight. You could stack them up with a bunch of weight and they'll do it. They'll do the movement, and the weight will force the movement to some sort of proper structure, or else you won't be able to move the weight. So if you go heavy right away, it's pretty telling, because and I'm not suggesting this.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you things that I've discovered and that I've watched. Like, I watch people stack weight that don't know a certain move, but you tell them what they need to do and it'll just sort of happen, because there's only one way to move weight, heavier weight than you're used to, without feeling like you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And so if you can pay attention to that, then you quickly learn like a movement, but ideally for sure, I think you want to learn movements light, just because it's safe.
Yeah. And so do you think there's an intuitive aspect of, like, let's say somebody can't afford a personal trainer or just kind of is just starting to get into this kind of stuff? Like, can somebody just put like even just the bar on its own and just like really pay attention to the way they're moving, and their body will maybe kind of tell them the right way? Or do you think it's good to have somebody try to watch you at first?
I think you should have somebody try to watch you at first that really knows proper movement. I mean, just for the sake of not sending people down some painful road and then calling me out on it.
Right.
Like, I heard you say this.
No, for sure.
But but on the flip side of that, I say yes to it, because if you're paying attention,
you're tuned
in, you can really, like, you discover moves. Even like a lot of my real early training was PT was suggestions from PT, but I would just lay down in my garage. I would just lay down, and just stare at the ceiling and have music on. And oftentimes I'd just be in tears because I couldn't even move, you know, but I had to just lay there, and that was my workout. It was just laying there for hours and sobbing and in just pain, you know. And then I'll just do Jane Fonda leg lifts for 10 minutes because it's all I could muster up, you know. But it's like, that was safe for me at that time. And then I would feel strong the next day, so I'd hang a 5-pound weight on the end of my foot and then do my Jane Fonda leg lifts or whatever, you know. But so, you know, you just, I don't know. I like to figure those things out. I like to figure out where my body's moving smooth, where it's moving strong, and then I just try to hook it up. And then when it tells me to move on to something else, I try to. Yeah. Try to.
Cool. And so let me go back to that. You said, like, you know, if you got 10 minutes in a hotel room, like, let's say you're in that situation, what do you do? Or if you want to just, you know, maybe you have 30 minutes or you just have some downtime, you can't get to a weight room. What are some basic things that you would do to just kind of feel like you're getting yourself working out, moving around a little bit?
I would go through just whatever stretching first that I felt like I needed then. I'm not the best stretcher. I'm not flexible, but I need to loosen up, right? So I'll just sit in like a squat, spread my knees with my elbows, just that basic kind of frog squat, you know, and kind of do a circle to clockwise just with my ankles being the driver. So that's like a mild warm up, you know, and then just a few different stretches. And then if I'm just going to rip 10 minutes and I want to get wind and body, I'm like straight up burpees, nothing else. Let's just do a 10-minute run of burpees at pace. Try to hold the pace. Try not to blow out. But then I'm moving up and down. All my joints are moving. You know, I'm firing the quickness with the little hop at the top of it. And then I'm also stretching everything and working.
Getting some cardio too.
Getting the cardio. I mean, those things gas you, you know. And it's like...
Yeah.
And, you know, I've not always, but recently if I could only do one workout for the rest of my life ever, I would probably pick a burpee or a burpee chin.
Burpee chin, what's that?
Like, you would do a burpee and then on your jump, you land on a chin up bar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Because then you got some pull movement.
So then now you have your push and your pull and your quick movement. And your brain is firing because you have to identify the bar.
Yeah, you got to land on it, and
then
with the timing too, that's another mental aspect.
Timing keeps the flow happening, and then if your timing's off, you're gonna blow out too early, and you're not gonna be able to hang for your 10 minutes and that type of thing. So just anything that works myself into a situation that feels like a trick is where I go with it. You know, like, how can I do this safe, and how can everything fire the same way that it would essentially fire when I'm looking down a scary trick and I want everything to work out that first go? Like, what do I need to do, you know?
Yeah.
And you're looking, your brain's, you know, you know what that's like that moment of just like popping something and lining it up and then lapping it over the bar and making sure that you're putting it in where you planned. You know, and sometimes it's right on, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you have the room to make that adjustment, and all that stuff is like happening in your head, you know, and it's hard to explain. You're not just trying the trick. It's like, yeah, I get it. It's a smooth movement. Let's just do it just nice and smooth and feels easy when everything clicks. You're like, dude, I didn't even feel like I didn't even do anything.
Yep.
But that's why, because everything clicked. But there's like, you know, 150 moves inside that 2 seconds, and you recognize every single one of them, and some of them are scary. So you're like, you can get scared 5 or 6 times inside that same few seconds, and that's just crazy to me.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It is wild, and the fact that some of those become kind of mute once you really get accustomed to doing something. Like the first time you try something, it's like you're consciously aware of every single one of those movements, but then the more you do it and your body kind of just learns, and then the ultimate like is when you can do it feeling kind of totally as one movement and quiet, and that's like basically a flow state where your body is just doing it without too much like frontal cortex thinking going on.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why I've always been so, I think I've said it a couple times in the podcast, but I'm always a lot more interested in some kind of workout that has some skill element to it rather than, and I mean, lifting weights and stuff has skill as well, but like, things like swimming and rock climbing and stuff like that, where you are like getting muscle activation, but it also is like synchronized, like whole body movement kind of stuff, which is also why I think like, I agree with you. Like burpees, that's awesome. I'm definitely gonna try.
Yeah, that's a good.
Try to do a 10-minute burpee session. I don't know if I'll try to make it, but
they'll give you bloody lungs real fast.
Yeah.
Those, to me, those are gnarly. That's a good one. But no, you're totally right. It's just just paying attention, and doing what. The pros are awesome because they can give you the information. They can support you in the way you're moving and keep you from getting hurt. But if you're not listening to yourself, then they're just going to turn you into whatever it is that they do. Mm-hmm. And if that's what you want, then that's great. But if you're going in to serve another need, it's like, listen to them and then talk to them about how can I tweak this to match this, because this is what I do. And mine was shoveling. Like I spoke that to Paul. I was like, we shovel, dude. We shovel for hours and hours and hours every single day.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to burn that movement out, but where's the strength in that movement, and how can we build that up for these guys? Because
so then you have the endurance after you've been shoveling, and you can board like feeling not exhausted.
The mental energy is where the trick comes in. It's not really the physical energy. Mm-hmm. The physical energy of a snowboard trick in the street specifically is a 3-hour build.
Yeah, and then hiking up every time.
Hiking up, that's the burn. Totally. But if, let's say you get it first try, you're still like shoveled and spent. And you're like, dude, I don't even know if I've got this try in me. And then it's almost like this new warm up if you're going to go into a battle, but then if you can click it off right away, you're stoked. But that's mentally draining. That's that mental part. You're just like, I got to line everything up. I got to make this sequence run smooth and yeah.
Nice, man. Cool. Well, another thing that I want to dive into real quick. I know we're kind of getting.
I got all day.
Okay. Cool.
You don't though. You got.
I don't have all day. Yeah. A few hours, but yeah. So I was curious if you have much experience with any type of body work, like massages, chiropractic, acupuncture, anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that goes to the mentor that I mentioned. His name's Dan.
Dan. I've heard a lot about Dan. I actually kind of want to try to get him on the podcast.
You should go. He might do the podcast. I'll mention it to him.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
See how he does. That might be a hard sell.
That's kind of
might be a little too much exposure.
That's the vibe I've gotten from people.
But he might. He was in a video with Seth once. He did a little cameo appearance, so he'll do it for the right people sometimes.
Yeah. But
no, he's a 74-year-old man, and I started seeing him when I was 19. So I got in there somehow. My mother's boyfriend knew him, and so he sent me in there 18.
Wow.
No, before I was even sponsored at all.
How old are you
17, 43. So
that's a lot of years.
Yeah, I've known him close to 25 years, I think is what we say to each other. So, and yeah, he's just been, he's my dude. He knows my body better than anyone else. He's taught me how to maintain a lot of it myself. I've paid a lot of attention to him. My family won't go to him because they get scared. They feel like it's going to hurt too much, but I'm able to unlock nearly every single issue my family has in their body, from a massage standpoint, not chiropractic. I'm not a popper. I'm not an anything. I'm just I'm just an all-inner, I guess,
For
but
like
just whatever. Like, I'm not a massage guy is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
but I've learned so much through him and paid so much attention to my own body that, my kid, when he blows out on his scooter and he's like, dude, my ankle, what's going on with my ankle?
And
I can put the ankle in my hand,
manipulate a little bit.
Yeah. He's explained to me the understanding of feeling and how you just feel the body and feel what it's doing and feel what it wants. And I think I'm pretty good at that. I'm not good at the science of knowing what every muscle is and how to manipulate it from a textbook point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to manipulate muscles, but I can feel them, and I can feel a knot, and I can feel a spaz, and I can feel energy. And so I approach it that way, and it's been pretty successful. They're kind of my little, I don't know, science mice,
Science
my
experiments.
family,
and
but it works, and
that's cool.
And
they're stoked. I bet.
Yeah, questions. I'll hit up Dan, and when I'm on his table, and I'll just say, hey, they've got this going. Here's what I felt, and he'll just kind of give me a few pointers, and then the guy that introduced me to him, my mother's boyfriend, Eugene, he was a dentist, and so he taught me a ton of cranial work over the years. So about the same amount of time, 25 years. And so every year leading into the season, he'd do a bunch of muscle testing on me, and he would do it multiple times throughout a season. So my stance would change all season, like in degrees and
based on like his recommendations.
Yeah. So I'd just mount up boots, bindings, all of my gear that I would currently wearing at the time, because it just, to me, everything has some sort of an effect. So if I throw a coat on and the metal in the zippers is something that might throw me off, might throw off the energy in my body, and I know that sounds like, I'm really not a hippie. Like, dude, I'll burn a tree down if I have to,
I hear what you're saying though, for sure. But I kind of am the same way. And that's why it's funny when I know a lot of people who just like throw their bindings on. They don't know what the stance with or what the angle and stuff. And I'm just like, that would drive me crazy. Like I need to be dialed in exactly. And yeah, sometimes, when you're wearing something and you're like kind of feeling off, and then you take that off, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I don't know what is different. Like it's almost the same weight, but all of a sudden I feel like I'm boarding better. So yeah, there's something about just like because when you're snowboarding, you're operating as one unit, and like everything that's touching you, I get it. Like I feel like
that's the word, you're a unit for sure, and you got to support it. And yeah, and so it's just he would do it, and we did adjust them. Sometimes it would stay in the same spot, sometimes it would move drastically, sometimes it was just 3 degrees here and nothing there.
And so by muscle testing, what is that?
Just different, like, it gets pretty tech. The testing itself isn't very tech, but essentially, like, if I would test you, like, you'd hold your arm out. And
it's like the yes/no testing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And you can do it through legs, and you can do it in different positions and things. But he was a cranial therapist. That's what his passion was. He loved that. So he would, what he always called it was unwinding. So he would move through my body and just sort of unwind it, kind of quarterly every year. I'll just hit him up and tell him my head needs to be unwound. And that's crazy, because you're on the floor. Like, we might start right there on the floor laying down, and my head will be in his lap, and and it's real subtle. He'll just work in my head, and then next thing my head's like back and forth, and I'm like getting dizzy, and then I'm like rolled to my side. And dude, he's a 75-year-old like little guy. And so he's not throwing me around. Yeah. Like, he just gets this movement happening, and then I'll end up over here, like on my stomach, and he's still with me, and maybe his hand's on my ankle at that point, and it's just this. It's like unwinding. It's like if you took this rubber band ball and tried to figure out or an extension cord when you're dealing with your generator and lights, dude.
Like when I was unpacking all this stuff, I was kind of like, oh, where does this go?
Yeah, you got to unwind it. And then once you get in the flow, like you're like, okay, that like this move right here, that just unlocked 5 of those knots. And so it's finding that, but it's that messy too. You have to be tuned into, like, he knows all the bones in the head. He's a jaw guy. He's a dentist. So he knows the importance of how much your jaw can throw off.
Very interesting combination, dentist and cranial.
Yeah, and so that's all he does now. He just retired from dentistry, and so, and I don't see him much. He's in Oregon now, but anytime I see him, I'm just like, get me in your lap, dude. Let's go.
And so you're not doing that with the snowboard stuff on?
No, that's just like the stuff. Yep. So the unwindings that's a different element, but I'll usually run those in the same session because I see him, you know. Yeah. And then the other ones like gear on or just my board. And if I have nothing, I'll just stand. And when we'll just kind of get my feet in a position that is strong right then, and then I'll sort of take a measurement. Wow. And then that's maybe where I might start my season. And then if I can see him with my gear, that's better, because the boots and the bindings, they all make a different tweak to where your strength is and how you're standing over the top of that and how your body's kind of sitting on it. And so, yeah, that was sort of my programming, really my whole career, you know. And then I started doing the gym stuff. Den hates the gym. He's a very physical gym guy, but he loves the body weight side of things. He gets super mad if like I tell him I did back squats or something. He's like, do not throw that weight on your back, you know. And so he keeps me in check on that end. And he's just like, and that's where the keep things light for the snowboard guys. I think that's where I developed kind of that programming, is just through learning from him. And you know, he challenges a lot of what I do, because I bring a lot of my own ideas to hopefully support his, you know, and because I move different than he does. He's 73.
And that's the beauty of it, is that you guys, you know, you can come with your life experience and kind of take his life experience and create this new thing that kind of works for both of you. Right. That's cool.
So he's my miracle man. He's just sort of my wizard. And JP would say the same thing. Seth absolutely would say this. I sent Seth. He was the second pro that I ever sent there for an ankle thing, and man, Seth's ankle was going nowhere. I can't remember the details of it, but he was locked up, like done. And middle of the season, needed a part finished. Sent him to Den. He was back like day.
Wow.
and that was his tree. He was just like, okay, that's my guy. You know, and aside from the Avalanche and blowing up my legs like that, anytime I'm hurt, he's my first stop. Get the tune. If I think it's bone, get out the tuning fork and the stethoscope, and we do a cowboy x-ray. And and if he thinks it's just a fracture, I won't even go in. A lot of times I'm just like, hey, I'm just going to stew down this fracture. It's just a hairline. Everything's intact. We'll just wait it out. Yeah. And then test it again with the tuning fork in a few weeks if you get a good
the tuning line. Is that one of those things that they like hit it and like test the vibration on it?
Yeah, so your bone, I think I don't know if it's C sharp or if it's just a C, but the tune of your bones are in that key. Oh, and so you use that same tuning fork, ring it, and then you have a stethoscope and you basically, you know, bookend the bone. So you touch the tuning fork when it's humming to the bone and listen on the other end with the stethoscope. And if you get clean vibration, then your bone's clean.
It's one piece.
But the fracture will send that signal somewhere else. And you'll usually feel it. You can kind of feel
when there's those micro vibrations.
You're like, ooh, that kind of is buzzing me. There's definitely a crack in there. So... And we tested those on some ribs. I've broken a bunch of ribs and cracked a bunch. And so that was one of the first experiences I had with the tuning fork. And so now I'm just like, tuning fork, dude, let's pull it out.
Yeah, just roll that out right away.
2 weeks ago, I'm like, hey, because we've never really tested my bones with these rods. And And I was curious what the fork would do to the rods, and that vibration didn't really do anything. But I have a clean line right now in the bone, but I don't know if that's because the rod runs all the way through. I might still have some fractures in that bone, and now I'm getting a misread because there's that titanium rod top to bottom. So
I wonder
that I'm not sure about.
Does the rod have a different frequency or a different tone, do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think I'll ask him that on Friday. Or I'll go to his, I'm going to look up what titanium rings to.
Yeah.
Because that's a good thought.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to check that out for sure. See, dude?
Nice.
You're feeling me. You get
yeah.
Now I'm a little out there, but it's really just.
You got to be out there, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of amazing stuff out there that I think gets too easily pushed to the side. And like at the end of the day, if you find something and it's fringe, but it works and it makes you feel better, then, I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah. And I just to hammer that home, you're spot on. It's really just you.
Yeah.
There's the obvious things when, your leg is sticking out of your pants. Like, you're not dealing with that yourself. Like, that needs help, obviously. And so, but right now, like, I saw you walk in here, like, you're humming. You're going to a video premiere tonight. Like, you filmed all season. Like, you're looking good, but you still
won a contest a week and a half ago.
Did you?
Yeah, hot dogs.
You won a contest. You won hot dogs?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I haven't even seen anything of it.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
No,
dude, it's all good.
Congratulations.
But yeah, I'm feeling like really good right now. I mean, I have to do a lot of things for upkeep, and sometimes I get sore and it feels a little sluggish compared to the other leg. But like for overall, like I'm performing pretty well and feeling good.
For you,
so,
yeah. But you also know that there's, you're like, this is still something I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And so
100%.
You're putting out, and that's rad, and you're paying attention to what's going on, and you're setting these dates. Like, I got this. I'm gonna work on this in the spring, hopefully, and pull this out because I know I'm feeling like I need it out.
Exactly.
The research I've done, I've talked to people and they've supported it, but but this is what I feel, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I think that's the thing that you just got to tune into that, got to pay attention, and you'll last longer. If it's you doing it and just supporting all the good information that you come across and testing it slowly. Like, spend the time to test, that's the other thing. Like, it's not fun. It's not fun to burn 3 weeks on some supplement that you thought was just going to put you over the edge and you'd be stoked. And it does nothing, and you're just like, really, dude, I just had to spend 3 weeks to learn that lesson. And
it's also hard to try to do kind of one thing at a time, so you can try to rule certain things out, and
you have
just takes a lot of
bearings
patience
on it. Otherwise, it just that's my wife's like that right now. We're in a phase, and I just broke it down for her and was like, hey, here's what you're gonna try. Like, try this, and keep everything else the same, and see what it does. And then you got like, this is a long game just to get to the end of this one little thing. We're maybe looking at 3 months. Just to kind of run this program, and nothing's written down. It's not like it's this official program is by feel. It's by, desire, what you want, what you're trying to pull off. I always base everything off what it is I'm trying to pull off. What do I need to get this done? And
one thing that I think is, sorry to interrupt, but one thing I think is a blessing about, the things that we do and kind of being an athlete is that, to be able to perform the way you want, and even to just like have a good time and have fun, you got to be like pretty, you got to be in decent shape, and you got to be feeling pretty good and all these things. And I feel like skateboarding and snowboarding is such a cool way for me to keep an eye on like my general health and well-being, because it's like so clear when you're not on and you're not performing well, and like when you have the desire to to skate or snowboard well, and then that bleeds over. I mean, all this stuff we're talking about, and conditioning and eating and supplements like that can all just go towards being a healthy human, even if you're not an athlete. But we have the blessing of like having a goal that, because without a goal, it's like nearly impossible to stay on all this stuff. So
for sure, and have that gauge, like.
Yeah.
That
especially because it's such a precise gauge.
There's nothing more telling than skating. Like,
dude.
If you think you're healed up, just step on a skateboard and give it a go. Like it'll tell you real quick what's working and what's not, And so I agree with you. I love that. I mean, that's, what I love is skateboarding. That's where my whole brain processes from, like at a base level, and so everything's just like, if I can do that, then we're on the right path.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just always working towards the push, which is insane.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
It's a little toy.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so crazy.
That's still with me, and
yeah.
But you got dudes like Tony Hawk. How old is that dude? 60 or something? 50? He put
He's
a
in his
part out at 50.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I remember, and like put a part out, dude, like a serious one, but he's just one of those guys. It's like that's it. It must be the same for him. It's like, it's just a matter of getting to a point that I can get back on and push. Yeah.
And just like believing that, that if you kind of take care of your body day by day and like keep an eye on what you're doing, like there's no reason why, you have to all of a sudden stop snowboarding or skating when you get to your 30s, you know what I mean? Obviously, like
I feel like that's what will kill you, ultimately.
Yeah,
so.
Totally. But I wanted to back up a little bit on we were talking about like trying weird fringe things and stuff like that and therapies, and something that I've recently come across that I think you would find interesting is there's like all this crazy research behind earthing, and that's basically just like the connection to the earth, like grounding, basically, like everything. So we're electrical beings. Like every cell has an electrical charge, down to atoms, and so whenever you're plugging some electrical thing into an outlet, it needs to be grounded, because for whatever. I don't know much about electricity, but this dude who discovered it and has done all the research for the last 25 years, he was in like the telecommunications industry, working for like a big TV company, and he like made this connection to like the electrical charge that we hold in our body. And, static electricity, everybody knows, like if you have static buildup and you touch something, it sparks and things like that. But basically, when you're connected, when you're grounded to the earth, whether that's like standing on the ground, like on the grass or gravel, whatever, bare feet, there's an electrical ground to the earth, and it neutralizes your electrical charge in a way.
Yeah.
And it like studies are insanely compelling. Like it totally wipes out inflammation. It basically like completely gets your body on track to start healing. And like even to the point where like if you have a pain in your body and if you stand long enough in the grass being grounded, it will go away. And like it can help with healing. And
that's the actual act. And you're just standing in the ground.
Literally
bare feet. Is this the key?
Yeah, bare feet, or something that's conductive. There's even like conductive shoes that you can get, and there are even like conductive mats that you can actually, like something that I'm gonna buy actually after like looking into some of the research, and people are calling it one of the most important health discoveries of like the last decade or whatever.
Yeah, but there are these. It makes almost perfect sense.
Yeah, and so there's these mats that you can get that you can put underneath your computer, plug it into a ground, and you have to test to make sure that the outlet is actually grounded. And because it's the same ground. Like you can literally put a copper pouch on your body and do a ground like as if you were grounding something electrical, and it'll have the same effect. And so you can get this mat that if you're working at your desk for a while, take your shoes off and you're just bare feet on this mat that's plugged into the wall, and it's grounded. And it's actually grounding you. And so, kind of some of the things that I don't mean to rant on for this for too long, but
Please
I'm super
do.
excited about it
because I'm starting it today.
Yeah. But basically, like in the 60s is when like plastics were invented and we started wearing, plastic soled shoes and things like that. And all these other different things that we're not like, ancestral human, whatever, or even just before pre-industrial times, we were always grounded pretty much, like not always walking around bare feet, but like leather is conductive and like things like natural materials are conductive, rocks are conductive, like those all can ground you. But as soon as you put a layer of plastic between your feet and the earth, you're not connected with the earth anymore. And this is also kind of like woo woo until you look into the science, and it actually is crazy. Like the things,
what about
everything
concrete?
from arthritis. Yeah, concrete is okay. It's not as good as being on straight earth, but it's good.
Just because it's a barrier, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
but it still
like
is
a coat or whatever.
Yeah,
you're
but
working
it's
through something.
Yeah, it still is conductive. Asphalt apparently is less conductive. Plastic is about as bad as it gets. And then, so pretty much like.
And rubber's dead.
Yeah.
It's not conductive. So the shoes.
Yeah.
That'll just stop it right away.
Yeah.
So we're walking around just disconnected all
the
the time.
100%. Yeah. Which is That's crazy. And when you start to think about it, it's like, this dude who's been doing the research for the last 25 years, he attributes a lot of because like back before the 60s, apparently, and I'm totally just quoting this from stuff I've learned about, but like 90% of the stuff in hospitals, people were there for like acute injuries, infectious diseases, things like that. And nowadays, 90% is all autoimmune diseases and like chronic inflammation diseases, everything from diabetes to arthritis. Like all of that is the same root cause, which is inflammation, whether that's throughout the whole body or in different parts of the body. And it like within a matter of 30 minutes, you can curb inflammation by just standing on the ground barefoot. It's unbelievable. It's so simple. And like that saying you're saying, like, keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? That's simple. Yeah. All we have to do is be connected to the earth because we are natural beings and we're from the earth. And so anyways.
Well, thanks for that. Cause that's
so look into that.
I'm starting to it for sure. And then I'll start looking into it tonight, but I'm going to start today and just program it into my session. Just standing, That's dope. I like that.
Yeah, and so I've been trying to take off my shoes like whenever I can, whenever I'm like
outside
near grass or whatever. And I think as this research comes out, it'll be more acceptable, and I think more companies will start, making shoes that are conductive. But sure. I just thought I would share that with you since you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's rad. I love that. Yeah, I messed with magnets quite a bit. My mom was always into that, and so I'd have like a magnet comforter. They'd have just a bunch of little magnets in it, and then there was a magnet like bed top. You could get magnet mattresses, I think, at one point, and the concept's there that the magnets basically pull that energy and it just realigns everything that it's in between it. So it just helps sort of like, as you go out throughout the day, maybe all your crap's just shifting around and it sort of is settling however it is you're moving. But then when you lay down, it's trying to find its comfort zone again and relax. And then I guess that's supposed to do, it just sort of pulls that energy and it tightens all those things and sort of places them correctly.
Yeah.
So something to that degree. It makes a lot of sense. I'm sure
it's along the same lines.
Yeah, I don't know that I had a ton of results from it ever, but I used to run it quite a bit as a kid. Yeah. Mom would always kind of. I've never tested it as an adult though.
Yeah.
I need to more maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I like that earthing. They should rename it though.
Yeah, it's a little too like earthing, grounding. It's almost because there's a lot of. Yeah, hippy dippy stuff that goes with those words.
If they want to sell that, they're gonna want to get on that.
Yeah,
maybe they will. Who knows? That's awesome. Thanks for that.
Yeah, of course. But, cool. Well, is there anything else that like what? I mean, you've got kids. And that's a huge part of your life. Is there
for sure
anything that you want to talk about, like the balance of that with like? Or actually, no, we could get into that if you want, but I was meaning to ask about the photo video stuff you've been doing. Well, curious.
Yeah, no, that's really just side gig stuff. And a lot of that actually started just to I mean, I've just gotten pretty good at handling video, you know. I would never call myself a professional at it, because to me, it became, the reason I got pretty good out of it, outside of just filming VXs, when we started doing street stuff with Dogger, that's really where we got cameras in our hands, you know. And so we knew how to film with a wide angle. We knew how to film skate style. And then progressing forward, you get into, you know, robot food and that, like, where it's actual real kind of filmmaking. And Dogger did it too, but their goal wasn't the same. The goal and the product was a snowboard video. Like, let's just make parts. We can do these little short intros that are shot well, but really they're just kind of gimmicky and to put somewhere to put the name. But let's just get to the footage. Like, that was Dogger's deal, you know. And then we get into the storytelling and the cinematic kind of films a little bit more later on, and then that was interesting because it was cool equipment and, you know, dollies and zip lines through trees and just different ways to get unique angles. And I just thought it was really cool. And so, you know, as when I would start our motorcycle trips or whatever, it was like, hey, what kind of tool can I have in my hand to get a crazy angle of these guys on the freeway at 60? And so it was keeping myself safe, keeping themselves safe, but doing things in real time, but still gathering some good footage and not saying, hey, can we do that again?
Yeah.
You know, and so my shooting style and video style is 100% off of that format. And so it's not about the gear for me. It's about the feeling. And so I just really got into little short edits, and then Instagram and blogs kind of promoted all of that, you know. And so it's just like, hey, how quick can we get this edit now? And so it's like, shoot with the GoPro, send it straight to the phone, edit it on iMovie in the parking lot before I even drive down, and then send it out. You know? And so it became like, let's put some sort of quality in there in the terms of like, let's make the trick good. Like, we still don't want like super sloppy tricks. Let's get a good trick and let's make the angle really cool, but let's also make it feel like just like boom, boom, boom. Like, you just went out for the day and that's what we got. And here you go. And we'll do it again tomorrow, you know? And so that was sort of the process behind it. And then I took a break from it for a while, and then my kids, they're super creative. They've just got this interest. And my daughter saved up. She didn't eat candy or sugar for 1 year.
Whoa.
For $1,000 was
no way.
So she did it.
And that's insane.
With her $1,000, she wanted a little DSLR and start shooting photos. So
nice. How old is she?
She's now 15.
That's amazing.
So she got that, and so for, you know, and she started playing with it. So I started a little I shoot the insides of homes before they sell them for agents. So it's simple. It's like, you know, there's the go-to angles, and it's really not that creative and that fun necessarily, but for her it was good because she can assist on it at the start. It's my plan, and then she has something that she can easily go, you know, get some real estate friends when she's in high school or when she starts to go to college or whatever, older years in high school, and now she knows how to shoot homes, and she can keep running that little side gig, and if it has clients, then she'll just take them over, and she'll be the one that's just working her way through school with a little bit of money and doing something that's somewhat interesting, you know, but it's quick and easy, so it's worth the money for her.
And it gives her something to shoot instead of just having a camera and like shooting everything, shooting whatever. I feel like to like progress as a photographer.
Yep.
If you start shooting kind of similar things, then you start to learn a lot more.
And she'll learn, you know, and then so it was just that started there, and then the video stuff really I don't push. It's more just stuff that we develop. I haven't really done a ton of video stuff. We're working on this Fox edit right now that I'm pretty involved in. So that's almost my biggest video gig, I would say, if you were to call it that. I mean,
cool.
Other than just like shooting stuff for the needs of snowboarders, you know, and snowboard sponsors and things like that. I always try to make those half decent, you know.
Yeah.
But then I made, you know, I edited up I guess it was really jibbing with Jeremy Jones and the Steezy Rider stuff we did on the motorcycles, the morning out of Austin, and those were like actually my projects that I edited.
That's awesome.
And did all the work on. And so that was before I even, and now I look at it, I'm like, I don't know how I got through those. You know, I didn't even know what I was doing at all.
But you got him out.
Yeah, I got him out.
That's awesome.
And it was awesome. And, you know, Dogger with the jibbing with Jeremy was cool because he, you know, I was able to give it to him at like 95%, and he could just go through and just kind of flush the details. So,
yeah.
And so that came out really good. And so, yeah, that's kind of, I guess, the start there. And again, it's really, really, really a side gig, that type of stuff, but it's stuff I like, you know, it's fun. And I want the kids to have cool jobs when they need to start making money. And unless they want to just do the normal stuff, you know, gas station jobs or a supermarket or whatever, they hire pretty young, they can do that too. But I'm just like, you know, let's start a lawn mowing business or shoot photos.
That's super
you know,
cool.
Do something
man.
that puts you outside. And
that's awesome.
They're not into it, but just help them where I can, give them some ideas. You know?
Yeah. Are you doing anything else for work right now, or just kind of things in snowboarding and some video projects here and there?
Yeah, mostly snowboarding. I mean, I you know, I'm trying to heal this up so I can get a little more into snowboarding, because you just need your body to do it. You know, at least the way that I want to. And the Woodward thing's been great because it's kept me in snow. It's all snowboard industry related to me, because I'm just working at it from a different angle. Like, I'm seeing the operation side of things from a resort standpoint, and seeing what all those guys went through when we rolled in as teams, and we expected this perfect snowboard park to film on, you know?
Yeah.
And I always tried to respect that anyway, as I think most pros do.
Yeah.
I think they try to be really respectful and show their gratitude for those builds and stuff. But I did that, and then now I just know what it takes, you know, seeing it, and not from the physical level, because I still haven't lived it on that end, but just hearing it all and the sequence and how things work and what those guys deal with. Like, those dudes are champions to get those parks up for us, you know, even on a daily at a resort. Like, they're digging all night, you know, then you got hand crew in the day doing all that work, and cat drivers just popping rails and resetting, and they're by themselves with their own cat, and it's a grind, you know. And so it's cool. I get stoked because, you know, this year I'm going to get to see people snowboarding on things that I had a heavy hand in designing and helped kind of come to life, and that's going to be really cool. And hopefully it goes well, then it'll be even more cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could definitely be like turn into something big. Like, I like where it's going. So.
Yeah, it's good. And then the speaking stuff, I have a
yeah, that's right.
Like a keynote that I built. It centers around, you know, kind of the building of my career, and then sort of its you know, almost demise with the accident, but then now sort of the rebound, and then so it evolves with me, which is pretty cool, because I have this kind of front part of it, and then I can share sort of the emotional part, which is the story of the accident, and how that affected me, and how it kind of redirected how I thought about things, and then the end of it just sort of keeps changing, because I'm able to do more things, and I'm able to be more physical, and so like it just keeps evolving. And I can't wait to, you know, maybe have a snowboard part under my belt and be able to give this presentation, you know, because I have
after the
and it's like, and to
incredible.
be able to round that out, it's like that's now a new goal of mine and dream, because it's like now I have this really cool package that can help people. You know,
that's inspiring.
Some of the things that people have said to me afterwards have just been like, I'm a stranger, you know, and people are telling me stuff they don't tell people, you know, that like about drugs, about suicide, about, you know, cheating on their wives, about like stuff that I just don't really want to hear. but they're just like, dude, this is changing my life. Tonight became a pivot point, you know? And the first time that happened, I was just like, hey, I've got to learn how to like this, because it was terrifying, you know, to get up there and do that. But I was like, I got to learn how to like this, and I got to be able to deliver it well every time, because I need at least one of those people every time, because that's powerful, and people need the switch, you know. Everyone's looking for the switch.
Yeah. And I mean, I can imagine those people don't even expect it when they are first sitting down, and then it happens, and then they're just like, what? And they feel compelled to come and tell you that, like that. I mean, for somebody to come up to, like you said, a stranger and tell those things, like, that must be very compelling. So you're doing great work. That's
and you
awesome.
Just, you know, try to respect that. And now I just see this video part at the end of it, and I'm like, man, that would be cool, you know, because they told me, they just said, you know, right before, you know, right, we were about to take the boots off, and I'm looking at the x-ray, and the PA's like, what is it you do again? And I'm on professional snowboard, and he's like, well, not anymore. What? Why would they? You won't do that again.
Why would they tell you that at that point? That sucks.
Yeah, and it's just,
dude, what?
And
Jesus.
And again, like, well, not again, but I'm not mad at that guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but I was just all, and I said to him, I'll show you a video in 3 months. And that was my knee-jerk reaction. Just like, don't say that to me, dude.
Yeah.
And I went and snowboarded at 14 weeks.
Did you send him the video?
I didn't send him the video. And that was the part where I wheeled back and realized, I was like, you know, this guy was actually helpful, rather than me taking this now and saying, here you go, bud. This is for that comment. I'd rather just leave it alone, keep it for myself, and say, that dude, like, he put my mind in a place that it needed to be to get through these first 12 weeks, because now I had a goal at 12 weeks, and it was to
get I'm going to prove this guy wrong.
Yeah. Whether I should have been or not, I'm like, I'm going to get on snow now. And it was 14 weeks, so I missed it, you know, and this is all kind of part of the presentation, so I don't give too much away, but you know, it was, you just, pay attention, you know, like I said, pay attention to your body, what do they call that? Earthing, yeah. Yeah. Like, tune in, you know, like, I'm feeling it, and just tune in, get earthing, and pay attention, you know, find your triggers, because there's the opportunity. That guy's negative comment was just an opportunity to get better quicker and not let it win. Yeah. And not him, like, he wasn't the competition. Just the idea that I wouldn't snowboard again was the competition, and that was the battle, you know, like, okay, you're going to put that in front of me. I'm going to prove that thing wrong. I'm going to prove that I won't ever snowboard again. So, I don't know. Find your trigger.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Well, I think you've got a part in you for sure. Just, you know, keep staying on everything you're doing.
Thanks.
You have made a lot of progress, even though it's been a slow progress.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do it. You know, it might be small, and
that's all good, man.
But it'll be steezy, hopefully.
Yeah,
you know, we'll keep it steezy.
Nice. Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for having me come over and sit down with you and do this.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm glad you kept reaching out, and I'm glad we could get the time to do it, and looking forward to your thing tonight. So that'll be sick.
Yeah, thank you. So, I'm super excited.
Yeah, always been impressed with what you've come with, and you can tell that you're someone that just wants to, you know, put your vision out, and I respect that. That's really cool, because there's a lot of video parts, you know, and there's a lot of good kids filming video parts.
That's very true.
And there's not a lot of, you don't see a lot of them I don't see have the full vision like others, if that makes sense. It's not a diss to anyone. It's just some people have a bigger picture, and it shows in their writing. You can see it before you even know them. And so, you're one of those, and
thank you, man. That means a lot.
There's not many that I've seen, but it's just really cool to see, because I know those people are out there, and those are the people that change things. And
well, I mean, you should know that you've been one of those people as well, and you are a big inspiration for me growing up. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, couldn't have ever done it without the people that backed us. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Cool, man. Last thing, what is the name of this presentation you do? Like, is there somewhere people can go to see this, or like, what is the gym called? I guess you're not trying to get too many people there, but if there's anywhere that people can like follow you or whatever, see what you're doing. I
mean, just the Instagram stuff's whatever. I participate in that some, and sometimes I'm not, but the presentation stuff, it's called What Doesn't Kill You Doesn't Kill You, and that's also the website. So you just go to that.com, What Doesn't Kill You Doesn't Kill You.com. It's long, and then that sort of gives you the framing of what it is. Couple little testimonials. It really doesn't do much. It was really just an online sort of brochure, because
just
people
place to land. Yeah.
So you can get a little glimpse of, like, it's real brief of who I am and what I did and what it's about, but it's just sort of the bullets, draws it out. And then, the gym's called The Sect, and that's just a great place. Hopefully have an auspice there soon and just work out of there. The others do run everything out of there, because it's just a good vibe. It's for a gym, it's very artistic and
cool,
thoughtful, and good style, and really cool people. So it's fun to be around, and that's really what I'm about. Just surrounding myself with people that hopefully I can make better, and I'll get better because of them,
Yeah, it's a group effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it always has been for me.
It's hard to stay on anything on your own.
Yeah, I've done very little by myself, and maybe nothing.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Except those leg lifts laying on the ground.
But even still, I got there somehow.
Yeah, true.
So it's cool. Yeah. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll see you later tonight. Okay. And to everybody else, catch you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this episode was brought to you by Raw Life Superfoods. That is the good stuff that you can get to be healthy at rawrlife.com, and you get 10% off by using the code Jesse at checkout. That's JESSE at rawrlife.com. And if you have any suggestions of guests, if you have any questions, if you just want to talk to me, if you want to be on the podcast, hit me up at Boardbag Studio on Instagram, or at boardbagstudio@gmail.com. And that is all I have for you today. Until next time, have a nice week.